All right, so I'm gonna do the whole truck. I'm gonna take my sweet ass time about it so that we can be here all night.
Yep.
All right, so first thing you're gonna do again is introduce yourself. My name is Fam. I'm here to perform my exterior pre-trip inspection. So I'm gonna start with all my lights. The marker lights are on top of the right and left of my cab and also on my trailer. They indicate the height, the width, and the length of my vehicle. The three remaining down the middle right here and also on the back of my trailer are my ID lights. They tell me that this is a commercial vehicle. My directional flashers, right and left, are amber in the front, red in the rear. We want to be sure that the rear ones are working properly, and amber is the color of caution. They also double as my four-way flashers. My headlights, they're going to be high for the country and low for the city. My truck is not equipped with fog lights, but if it were, they would only be used during foggy conditions. Now I want to inspect all those lights. All the lenses are clean, they're not cracked, they're not broken, they're not missing, and I want to be sure that all the bulbs are working properly, not burnt. So those are all your lights, okay? When you go to study this outside package, look, start with the lights and do it over and over and over until you know you can't fuck that up. When you know you can't fuck that up, add some more parts and do that over and over and over until you know you can't mess that up. And then just keep on going. I promise you, after 4 days, you're gonna know this whole truck. Don't let it overwhelm you by doing the whole truck all at once. Nobody ever does it. Nobody can ever get it, the whole truck all at once. Start small and keep on adding, okay? All right, so now that I'm done with my lights, I'm gonna go right back to my windshield because now I'm on the outside. My windshield, it's not cracked, broken, or have any illegal stickers. I now see that my weather seal is not ripped or torn, so it doesn't let any air or water enter my cab. Right down here is my license plate. It's fully visible. It's up to date. It's mounted to my bumper. Full set of mounting bolts, tight and secure. You guys notice I went ahead and skipped over my wiper blades. You really don't have to do them. You really don't have to do them because you already did them on the inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do it. I tried not to give them any kind of reason to take away points from me, you know, because it may be somebody else out here doing this side part of the test. So I don't try to skip anything. My wiper blades, they're full set. We know that they're working properly from the inside. They're not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. The blades, they're not ripped or torn, so it doesn't scratch my windshield. All right, so at this point in my inspection, I'm gonna go ahead and check underneath the cab. What I'm looking for is any possible leaks like water or oil. I'm also making sure that the cab, it's not leaning from one side or the other. So if it's not leaning and not leaking any fluids, I'm gonna go ahead and pop it open. All right, with the cab open, starting on the passenger side. Okay guys, just like your paperwork says, when you get to the passenger side, you're gonna first check your 4 types of fluids. And what they are washer fluid, coolant or water, oil, and power steering fluid. So on this side of the truck, I only have 2 of them. My coolant or water reservoir is not cracked, broken, or leaking. It's mounted to the radiator, full set of mounting bolts, tight and secure. Hoses coming off the reservoir, free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. All the clamps are tight and secure. And I'm gonna check underneath, make sure I'm not leaking any kind of coolant. Next is gonna be my washer fluid. Well, this is the leading part of it, the reservoir, mounted to the cab, full set of mounting bolts, locked tight and secure. It's not cracked, broken, or leaking. Cap right here, well, it's not missing and it's tight. The hoses for it, free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. All the clamps, tight and secure. The main reservoir is right down here underneath my cab. All you gotta do is point underneath. I wanna be sure that main reservoir is not cracked, broken, or leaking. All right, so I'm done with the fluids on this side. My oil and my power steering are on the other side, so I'm gonna do that when I get to the other side. I'm gonna now move straight to my belts. Ordinarily, on a different truck or our older trucks, you would have to check 4 types of belts: alternator, water pump, compressor, and power steering, right? For this truck, there's only 1 belt. It's called a serpentine belt. It drives all the pulleys for this truck. And here it is right here. The serpentine belt is not too tight or too loose. The proper adjustment, 3/4 inch of play between the pulleys. It should not be ripped, torn, or worn. If for case the belt was too tight, it's going to damage a bearing. If it's too loose, well, it may slip or even jump off, causing all the parts to not function properly. So now I'm done with the belts, straight back to my components, right? Ordinarily, you have to check 4 components, right? Water pump, alternator, compressor, and power steering pump. On this side of the truck, I only have one of those, which is going to be my water pump. Easiest way to find it. Reservoir, right? Big hose coming out of it, right there. Follow that big hose. Does a couple of bends, and then does another 45-degree bend right down here, and connects right there. That's your your water pump. My water pump, it's mounted to my engine. Full set of mounting bolts, locked tight and secure. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. The hoses coming off of it are free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. I want to be sure that all the clamps are tight and secure. I'm going to check underneath the cab right here to make sure I'm not leaking any kind of coolant or water. My water pump is belt driven. Okay, so I'm done on this side. Moving to the other. The other side of the truck, I told you my 2 other fluids were on this side. This is my power steering reservoir. It's mounted to my radiator also. It's not cracked, broken, or leaking. The cap is tight and secure, not missing. The hoses down here, free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. All the clamps, they should be tight and secure. I'm gonna check underneath the cab, making sure that I'm not leaking any kind of power steering fluid. Both my power steering fluid and my coolant over there are at their proper level. Okay. My last reservoir is going to, or fluid is going to be my engine oil. This is the reservoir for it right here. It's not cracked, broken, or leaking any kind of oil. It's mounted to the engine with a full set of mounting bolts, tight and secure. The cap right here, it's tight and secure. It's not missing. I want to pull this dipstick out right here. Pull it out at the DMV and check my oil level. Make sure that's at its proper level. All right, so now that I'm done, I'm done with my fluids. I'm gonna move back to my components. I have 3 left, right? Alternator, power steering, and compressor. So starting with my alternator, right here. The alternator, it's mounted to my engine. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. It's belt driven, right? All the mounting bolts are locked, tight, and secure. None are missing. All the wiring behind it, there's no bare wire to prevent electrical shorts. Next is gonna be my power steering pump. This one's a little hard to find. The reservoir that you just inspected, follow the big hose right here coming out of it. If you follow it, it does a couple of bends, it goes up to here, bends back up, and then right here it does a 90-degree bend down, and it connects to that metal hose right there. That metal hose, if you follow it, it'll lead you right to your power steering pump, which is at the bottom there between your frame. All right, my power steering pump, it's mounted to my engine. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded, okay? All the mounting bolts are locked, tight, and secure. All the hoses coming off of it are free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. All the clamps, they should be tight and secure. And we're gonna check underneath the cab, making sure that we're not leaking any power steering fluid. I wanna be sure that this hose right here, this is a metal one, right? That hose is not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. All right, so next and last one is gonna be my compressor. So this one's a little hard to find too, but if you actually know what you're looking for, you're basically looking for the air lines, all right? So these are air lines right here, okay? You know that because it has fabric around it, right there. And there's another airline there, another airline right next to it. So those air lines, they end right there in that box, right? That's your compressor. My compressor is mounted to the engine. Full set of mounting bolts, tight and secure. It's also not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. All the hoses coming off of it are free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. All the pressure clamps, they should be tight and secure. Here, I'm listening for air leaks. My compressor and my power steering pump are gear driven. All right, so now I'm done with my components. The next thing on your paperwork is your 4 types of hoses, right? Water, oil, fuel, and air. So now that I've named them, I've got to find them. Here, coming out of the radiator, big old hose right here, water. Any one of these hoses right here, just pick one. They're all oil, okay? Fuel, well, that's a fuel filter. So we know the hose coming in and out of it has fuel in it, right? Fuel line. And then the last one is your air. Point right up there. So now that we've identified everything and located it, we're gonna inspect them. My air lines right here, they're free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. All the pressure clamps, the plastic pressure clamps down here are tight and secure, pushed down so that it's not leaking. And here we're gonna be listening for air leaks. All right, the remaining 3, fuel, oil, and water, we just wanna be sure that all the hoses are free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. That all the pressure clamps or pressure nuts down here and pressure clamps are tight and secure, not missing. We're going to be checking underneath the cab to make sure we're not leaking any kind of fluid such as oil, water, or fuel. Okay, these are metal. You see that clearly, right? So we want to make sure we tell them that these hoses are metal, so they should not be cracked, broken, or illegally welded. All right, so now I'm done with my hoses. Next thing on your paperwork is your suspension, right? From here on out, your suspension, your steering, and your brakes, you got to be careful. Figure out a way for yourself to do it so that you don't miss parts. Because if you miss one part, for instance, on your suspension, they take away the whole suspension system from you. It's a lot of points. All right, so slow down, figure out a way. The way I do it is I start from left and I work my way back to the right, and I talk about everything. All right, so my suspension first, starting with my spring mount hangers right here. It's mounted to my frame, full set of mounting bolts, tight, secure. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Hanging on my mount are my leaf springs. The leaf springs are hanging tight and secure with the nut and bolt right here. Tight and secure, not missing. These leaf springs are full sets. They're not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. They're not moving or shifting in any way. In the middle, right here, is my mounting pad. That mounting pad is in its proper place. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. It's held down with 2 U-bolts, 1, 2. Those U-bolts are not moving or shifting. They're not cracked, broken, or illegally welded, and they're tight and secure with their nuts at the bottom here. Right behind my shock absorber, right behind my mounting pad is my shock absorber right there. The shock absorber is mounted to the frame up here, axle down here. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. It's not leaking any oil or grease. If it is, or we're leaking oil or grease, it needs to be replaced. All right, so now I'm done with my steering. Next is going to be my suspension, excuse me. Next is going to be my steering. And here I go from top to bottom. That way I don't forget anything. Starting with the steering rod right here. The steering rod, it's not bent or curved. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. It doesn't have any more than 2 inches of play. The U-joint up top right here, underneath the wires here, and the U-joint down here, they're both well maintained and lubricated. They're not cracked, broken, or illegally welded, and they're tight and secure with the proper set of nuts and bolts. Down here is connected to my steering box. This steering box, it's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. It's mounted to the frame, full set of mounting bolts, locked tight and secure. It's not leaking any oil or grease. If it is, it needs to be repaired or replaced. Hoses coming off of it, again, are the metal ones. They're not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. All the pressure nuts, tight and secure, not missing. And we're going to check to make sure we're not leaking any kind of fluid, such as power steering fluid. After you're done there, I have 4 steering linkages. You don't have to name them. You just got to tell them I have 4 steering linkages, and then point to them. This is 1. This is 2. That's 3. Right there. And all the way at the bottom right here, that's 4. All 4 of these parts, well, they're not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. They're not moving or shifting in any way. All the joints, well maintained and lubricated. All these joints are held together with castle bolts and nuts. The castle bolts and nuts are tight and secure with their cotter pin going through them, not missing. So now I'm done with my steering. Next is going to be my brakes. All right. Do me a favor, bro. Hop in, start the engine, turn it all the way to your left, and then turn off because they will take away all the points from you. All right, so start with your brake chamber right here. My brake chamber, it's mounted to the axle. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Right? Around the clamp, or I'm sorry, around the chamber, there's a clamp right here. It's tight and secure with this proper set of nuts and bolts at the bottom there. Behind my brake chamber, right here, is the air line. That air line is free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. It's not, all the clamps right here are tight and secure. And here we're gonna be listening for air leaks, right? Because it's an airline. Then you're gonna, after the airline, you're gonna push right back to the front. Coming out of my chamber right here is my push rod. Connected to my push rod right here is my slack adjuster. The 2 parts, push rod and slack adjuster, not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. The slack adjuster has both of its cotter pins going through there, tight and secure, not missing. Those cotter pins happen to be the only thing that hold these 2 parts together. If they break and break loose, you won't have any brakes. Okay, so you do have to tell them that. It's important. All right. So as soon as you're done there, you gotta tell them, hey, this slack adjuster on my steers, no more than 1 inch of play. Air brakes off. 1 inch of play. Air brakes off. As soon as you tell them that, point to the inside of the wheel. Inside there is my inner axle seal. That's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. it should not be leaking any oil or grease. If it were, it needs to be replaced. All right, also inside my wheel is my brake drum. The brake drum, it's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. All right, sitting right on top of the brake drum are my brake shoes. Those brake shoes should have no less than 1/4 inch of life. When I'm looking right there through that ventilation hole, we're looking for two types of powders, either white or black. White means fire extinguisher was used because the brakes overheated. Black means metal to metal rubbing. All right, so now that I'm done there with my brakes, straight back to the front where my tires are. These are my steer tires. Inner, outer wall, free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. Tread, no nails or screws. Tread life, no less than 430 seconds. Recaps, not permitted. Must be originals on both sides, matching. Air pressure, between 85 to 100, or whatever the manufacturer recommends. And when I check, I'm going to use an air gauge. All right, to the front of the wheel. All right, so this is the wheel, okay, guys? My wheel, it's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Not bent or curved. Free of any kind of damage. Held up with lug nuts. My lug nuts, full set, tight and secure, no rust. Rust means loose and need to be tightened. In the middle right there is my hub seal. This hub seal mounted to the outer part of my axle with a full set of mounting bolts, tight and secure. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. It's not leaking any oil or grease. If it is, it needs to be repaired or replaced. I want to pull this cap off right here from time to time to make sure I'm at my proper fluid level. Valve stem, unfortunately it's missing its cap, but it's not touching the rim of the wheel, and we're going to be listening for air leaks here. That's part A, guys. Part B. All right, part B, start with the door. Basically, my door, it's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Mounted to the door are my brackets. The brackets are mounted with a full set of mounting bolts, top and bottom. My bracket's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Hanging on the bracket are my mirrors. They're full sets, they're clean, not cracked, broken, or have any illegal stickers, and well adjusted to me. On the outside right here are my heating filament wires. I want to make sure that there are no bare wire to prevent electrical shorts. All right, as soon as you're done there, my door hinge. My door hinges are mounted to the to the cab. Full set of mounting bolts, tight secure. They're not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. They're well maintained and lubricated, and they're working properly. All right, my door handle. Well, it should open and close the door properly. It's not cracked, broken, or missing any parts. On the inside of the door right here is my door latch, mounted with the full set of mounting bolts, well maintained, not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. My windows, we know they go up and down properly. Inside there is my 3 emergency compartment. Basically has 3 DOT reflective triangles, my box of spare fuses, and my fire extinguisher. Up to date, fully charged. The needle is reading on the green. That means it's fully charged. Safety pin is in and strapped down so it doesn't roll around. All right, my door seal. It's not ripped or torn or missing. Well, I lie, it's ripped right there. But its purpose is to help let or prevent air or water entering the cab. All right, as soon as you're done with the door, go ahead and close it. Do not forget the side marker light. My side marker light is amber in color. It's not cracked, broken, or missing its lens. And it's working properly. The bulb is not burnt. My fuel tank right here, free of any kind of dents. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. It's strapped up to the chassis via these saddle straps. These are called saddle straps. My saddle straps are not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. They're tight and secure to the chassis with a proper set of nuts and bolts. Between the saddle strap and my fuel tank right here, there's a rubber insulation strap. That strap should not be ripped, torn, or missing. It's to prevent metal to metal rubbing. My crossover fuel lines, those are the fuel lines that go from this tank to the other one on the other side. They're right here. Those crossover fuel lines are free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. The plastic quick connects are not cracked, broken, or missing. We're gonna make sure that when I leak any kind of diesel down here, prevent, fires, me dying, any of that stuff. The cap right here, tight and secure. You should take it off at the DMV, but I'm not. The cap should be tight and secure, attached to its proper T-chain with the gasket, not ripped, torn, or missing. All right, so that's your fuel tank. Next is gonna be your steps and your catwalk. These are all steps, and these are catwalks. steps and my catwalks are not cracked, broken, or legally welded. Mounted with a full set of mounting bolts. Tight and secure, not missing. There should be no oil, grease, or water to prevent my self-injury. Guys, battery box. My battery box is mounted to my what?
Frame.
Frame or chassis, right? It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. It's mounted with a full set of what?
Bolts.
Mounting bolts, right? Tight and secure, not missing. Inside this battery box, I should have no less than 4 batteries. Okay? The battery terminals, they should be clean. This happens to be a terminal right here. Pull it off, check it. Should be free of any kind of corrosion. All the wiring, free of any kind of bare wire to prevent electrical shorts. All right, so as soon as you're done there, right, you want to tell them inside this box I should have no dry leaves, wadded up paper or anything like that to prevent electrical fire. As soon as you're done with the battery box, you move straight to your frame or your chassis, right? My frame or my chassis runs the full length of the tractor. It's not cracked, broken, or legally welded. It's not bent or curved. In the middle, running from side to side, are my cross members. The cross members are not what? Mounted with what?
Full set of mounting bolts.
Full set of mounting bolts, tight and secure, right? All right, so running from front to back in the center of my frame should be my what?
Frame shaft.
My drive shaft. It's well centered. It's not cracked, broken, or legally welded. My drive shaft has 3 U-joints. One in the back, one in the middle, and one in the front, right there. Those U-joints are not cracked, broken, or legally welded, tight and secure with the proper set of nuts and bolts. The front one connects to my what, guys?
Transmission.
Transmission, that's right. My transmission is mounted to my engine. It's not cracked, broken, or legally welded. And it should not be leaking any what?
Oil. Transmission oil.
Transmission fluid. If it is, it needs to be repaired or replaced. The U-joint in back connects to my what?
Differential.
My differential. The differential is also not cracked, broken, or legally welded. Mounted with a full set of mounting bolts, tight and secure. And it's not leaking any what?
Differential fluid.
Gear oil. Okay? If it were leaking gear oil, it needs to be repaired or replaced. All right, as soon as you're done there, straight into the exhaust system. And here, you don't have to name all the parts, guys. You just gotta tell them my exhaust system. Not cracked, broken, or legally welded. All the straps, clamps, tight and secure. That's the strap down there, clamps in here. All the straps and clamps are tight and secure, none of them are missing. Up there at the stack, no black soot. If I had black soot up there, that means I'm leaking bad fumes in the air. Down here, flexing the elbow, no rust holes. If I did have rust holes, that means I'm leaking bad fumes into my cab. Really bad for me, right? As soon as you're done right there, talk about your mount right here. My exhaust mount is secured to the chassis or frame, full set of mounting bolts, locked tight, secure, not cracked, broken, or legally welded. All right, so as soon as you're done there, this is the coupling system. Again, what parts are in my coupling system?
Air lines, electrical, and fifth wheel.
And my whole fifth wheel, right? So if they ask you at the DMV, what's your coupling system? Your answer is my air lines, electrical lines, and my fifth wheel. That's your answer. You just got all those points. Okay? They do that from time to time. All right, so starting with my lines, right? That spring up there, those springs up there, tight and secure to the frame. To the tractor. Their purpose is to hang my lines, being sure that I don't hang too high or too low or too tight or too loose kind of thing. Too high or too tight, when I turn, tugs on my glad hands, pops them off, cause my spring brakes to come on. Too loose or too low, my lines get caught up in my drive shaft, damage them, causing my spring brakes to come on. Inspection or inspecting the lines. Well connected from tractor to trailer. Red, emergency. Blue, service. Right? Green is what?
Electrical.
Right. All right, my hoses, the black hoses, are free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. All the pressure clamps on the ends are tight and secure. Over here, it connects to my glad hands. The glad hands are tight and secure with their what in the middle?
Rubber gasket.
Rubber gasket, not ripped, torn, or missing. And here we're listening for air leaks. The electrical line is free of any kind of bare wire to prevent electrical shorts. All right, so as soon as you're done there, next is your fifth wheel, right?
No.
My fifth wheel. The first thing you tell them about your fifth wheel is that it's a movable or adjustable fifth wheel. That means that all my pins need to be in the lock position. Right there. Yeah. All right, all those pins, they need to be in the lock position. which they are. All right, as soon as you tell them that, you can come back and do your airline right there. My airline for the fifth wheel, it's not cracked, broken, or have any bulges. All the clamps or nuts and bolts at the ends are tight and secure. So here I'm going to be listening for air leaks. My platform, it's well maintained and lubricated. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. It's mounted to my frame, full set of mounting bolts. All the mounting bolts are tight and secure, no rust. None of them are missing. Right there is my release arm. That release arm is in its proper place in the lock position with the trailer connected. It's not cracked, broken, or legally welded. The whole plate down there is called the skid plate. The one in the middle is called the skid plate. That skid plate is not cracked, broken, or legally welded. Well maintained and lubricated. All right, the plate underneath your trailer right here is called your apron. It's also well maintained and lubricated. It's also not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. And there should be no gap between the skid plate and the apron. And there is not. Okay, as soon as you're done there, right around to the back, in the middle of the fifth wheel in there, are my locking jaws. In the middle of the fifth wheel in there are my locking jaws. They're not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Well maintained and lubricated. Those locking jaws, they wrap or lock around the shank of the kingpin. That kingpin comes down from the bottom of the trailer. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Also well maintained. Before I hook up to it, I want to make sure that it's not bent or curved or damaged in any way. All right? So now you're done with your coupling system. Come right back to the front up here, and you're going to do your drive axle. This drive axle, we're going to do back here. Same inspection, except there are 6 differences, right? You don't say anything about them. It's just for you to know. All right? Every truck is different. So we just do full inspections. That means inspect everything. And the order of the day is, look, when you're doing your inspection, it's suspension, brakes, tires. That's the order. Suspension, brakes, then tires. And when you're doing it, do all your suspension, and then do all your brakes, and then do all your tires. Don't move until you've gotten everything on each part. Okay? All right, so starting with my suspension, spring mount hanger, mounted to my frame, full set of mounting bolts, not cracked, broken, or legally welded. Hanging on my mount are my leaf springs. The leaf springs are full sets, not moving or shifting, not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Tight and secure with the proper set of nuts and bolts. In the middle of my leaf spring, right in the middle, on top of my axle, is my mounting pad. That mounting pad is in its proper place. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Just like in front, it's held down with 2 U-bolts. The U-bolts are not moving or shifting. They're not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Tight and secure with their nut at the bottom. Right behind my mounting pad is my shock absorber, right there. That shock absorber is mounted to the frame up top and the axle at the bottom. Not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Not leaking any oil or grease. If it is, it needs to be replaced. Right behind my shock absorber, airbag. That happens to be difference number 1. The airbag, fully inflated, sidewalls, free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. Mounted to my frame via this mount. That mount is not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. All the nuts and bolts are locked tight and secure. As soon as you're done with your suspension, right back to the front to do your brakes. All right? And you see how I did it. I do it like I do everything else. I start here and I go all the way back. And then when I'm done there, I move back to the front. I don't move until I finish. Okay? All right, starting with the brakes. There's my brake chamber right there. My brake chamber is mounted to my axle. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. All right, all the mounting bolts are tight and secure. Around this chamber, there are 2 clamps. Those clamps are tight and secure, not missing. On this chamber, there are also 2 air lines. Those air lines are free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. Clamps are tight and secure, and what are we listening for? Air leaks. All right, behind my brake chamber, if you guys remember correctly, in the front, the push rod and the slack adjuster were located in front. Here, they're located behind, right? My slack adjuster and my push rod are not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. My slack adjuster should have what inside of on holding it together?
The cotter pin.
The cotter pin, right? That's the only thing that holds those 2 things together. My slack adjuster should have no more than what?
2 inches. 2 inches of play.
Which one is it? 1 or 2?
2.
2 inches of play. Air brakes off. Okay? Okay, so as soon as you're done with your brakes in there, you're gonna still be down there, you're gonna point to the inside of the wheel, just like that. Inside there is my inner axle seal. What am I gonna tell them about my inner axle seal?
Crack broken, legally welded.
Perfect. And it's not leaking any oil or grease, right? All right. Also in there is my brake drum. I already did this once, right? It's the same thing. My brake drum is not what?
My crack broken, legally welded.
On top of my brake drums, laying on top is what?
My brake shoes.
My brake shoes. No less than what?
One quarter inch light.
Perfect. And when I'm looking in the ventilation hole, I'm looking for what?
2 types of water. Black and white.
White is?
White is somebody used extinguisher on it.
Black means?
Not a tomato rubbing.
That's all you gotta tell them. You're done with your brakes, right? As soon as you're done with your brakes, well, now it's tires, right? First thing you see about your tires is what?
2 tires.
There are 2, right? My tires, I have dual tires, inner and outer wall, free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. My tread should have no what? Nails or screws, right?
Yeah.
My tread life,
230 seconds.
230 seconds, right? Recaps are
Permitted.
right? Well, that's it. The inner and outer walls are free of cuts, cracks, and bulges, right? So as soon as you're done there, before you move along, we've already done 2, right? 2 differences, the airbag and the slack adjuster, right? The third one was the 2 tires. The fourth one is the 230 seconds, right? The fifth one is that the recaps are allowed. And the last difference, 6, is that the butting space. That butting space should be no more
4 inches.
than 4 inches wide. It should not have any what?
Trash bottles.
Yeah, trash or debris inside, right? As soon as you're done there, right to the wheel right here. My wheel should not be what? It's metal.
Crack broken, legally welded.
Cracked, broken, or illegally welded. It's held in with what?
Set of nuts.
Set of nuts.
Lug nuts. The lug nuts are tight and secure and they don't have any rust. Rust would mean what?
They're loose.
Perfect. This is my axle seal. Okay, you see its difference, right? This is an axle seal. The one up there is a hub seal. Axle seal, hub seal. My axle seal is mounted to my axle, right? Full set of mounting bolts, tight and secure. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Not leaking any oil or grease. If it is, it needs to be replaced. The valve stem right there. It should not be touching the rim of the wheel. It should have its cap tight and secure. And I'm listening for air leaks. All right, so as soon as you're done right here, move right to your mud flap, okay? My mud flap has a mount. That mount is secured to my frame. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. The mud flap should not be damaged in any way. It should not be too long or too short. Too long, drags on the floor. Too short, doesn't work properly, all right? We're almost done with the tractor now, okay? But if you look right down the middle, guys, go down there and look. There's an arm right underneath the 5th wheel that goes from right to left. That arm is called the torque arm. My torque arm is mounted to my frame. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. That torque arm is to help my my tractor run in a straight line. All right, as soon as you're done with that one, move right to your lights. This is the last part of your tractor, or part B, basically. My lights back here, the red are my brakes. The clear one is my reverse. These brake lights, they also function as my what? 4-way flashers and my directionals, left and right. The lenses, they should be clean. They should not be cracked, broken, or missing. We want to make sure that the bulbs are working properly, not burnt. All right, that's section B. Whole front part of your trailer right here is called the header board. My header board has its full set of laminates. They're not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. They should be held in with rivets. The rivets should be a full set. None should be missing. But you know, it's obviously dented. It's obviously missing a rivet. Whatever you gotta tell them, tell them. Just don't hide it. Just tell them whatever's wrong. Up there are my marker lights. Again, they're amber in the front, red in the rear. The lenses are clean, not cracked, broken, or missing, and we're gonna be listening. We're gonna make sure that the bulbs are not burnt. All right, my side trailer also has its full set of laminates. They're also held in rivets. They also should not be cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Unfortunately, you know, I do see damage. Just point it all out. All right. My upper frame and lower frame, they're not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Not bent or curved. On my upper frame, there are marker lights along the side, amber in the front, red in the rear. Make sure that those lenses are not cracked, broken, or missing, and the bulbs are working properly. Down here on my lower frame, I should have reflectors and DOT tape. Well, I'm missing an amber reflector right here, but they're amber in the front, red in the rear. My DOT tape is fully visible, not ripped, torn, or missing. underneath my trailer here is called my undercarriage. The undercarriage has cross beams. Those cross beams are perfectly straight. They're not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Not bent or curved, mounted to the frame, full set of mounting bolts. Also underneath here are floorboards. Those floorboards should not have any holes or damage in it, not cracked or broken. If they are, they need to be repaired. In the middle of my undercarriage right here are my air lines and my electrical lines. Right down there, you see them in the middle? My air lines and my electrical lines. Those air lines go to my rear brake chambers. My electrical line goes to my rear lights. The hose should be free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. Clamps, they should be tight and secure, and I'm going to listen for air leaks. The electrical line should be free of any kind of bare wire to prevent electrical shorts. As soon as you're done with those air lines and electrical lines, turn right around and do the landing gear. My landing gear mount right here, the triangle piece, on both sides are factory bolted to the frame. If they're not cracked, broken, or illegally welded, all the nuts and bolts are tight and secure, not missing. This is the brace. The ones going across are supports. My braces and supports are not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. They're not bent or curved. Well, I lie, it's bented right there. So it got hit, but they should not be bent or curved in any way. All the nuts and bolts are locked, tight, and secure. None of them should be missing. My landing gear leg right here is perfectly straight, free of any rust, not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Inside of them, going up and down here, is my boot. That boot should be tight and secure, not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. It should operate up and down properly. The release arm on the other side is in a proper place when not in use. To the rears. Trailer's easy, huh? All right, guys. To my rears, where do I start?
Suspension.
And then?
Brakes.
And then?
Tires.
Right. So suspension first. Spring mount hanger right here, right? My spring mount hanger is factory welded to the frame. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Hanging on my mounts are my leaf springs right here, inside. Right on top of the axle is my mounting pad. That mounting pad is not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. And it's also held down with 2 U-bolts. Not moving or shifting, not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Tight and secure with the proper set of nuts and bolts at the bottom. Okay, there are no airbags, no shock absorbers, so you don't talk about it at all. All right, so as soon as you're done there, you're gonna go right here to this arm right here. That's a weight stabilizer arm. That weight stabilizer arm is mounted to my mount right here, and my axle at the other end is not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. All the nuts and bolts are locked tight and secure. Its purpose is to help balance the weight back here. Right, the bar right there, like, oh, that's a bar. That's a beam, I should say. That's called the cross beam. That cross beam also doubles as my torque bar. It should not be cracked, broken, or illegally welded, not bent or curved. Its purpose is to help my trailer run in a straight line. Right, so as soon as you tell them all that information, now it's time to go to your brakes. My brakes back here have dual brake chambers. Both of my brake chambers are mounted to my axle down there. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Around the chamber there are clamps. The clamps are tight and secure with the proper set of nuts and bolts. On top of the brake chamber, or sorry, behind the brake chamber, right, is my air line. The air line is free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. Clamps are tight and secure, and I'm going to be listening for air leaks. In the back right here are my push rods and slack adjusters. The push rod again goes into the brake chamber. The slack adjuster are those gold looking pieces. All right, those are my push rod and my slack adjusters, not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. The slack adjusters have their cotter pin going through them tight and secure. These slack adjusters on my rear should have no more than 1 inch of play. Air brakes off. And as soon as you tell them that information, point to the inside. Right in there is my inner axle seal. It's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. The whole black round thing right there is my drum. Drum's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Sitting inside the brake drum are my brake pads or shoes. Those shoes should have no less than 1/4 inch of life. Again, when I'm looking there, I'm looking for 2 types of powders, either white or black. White means fire extinguisher, black means metal to metal. So now we're done with the brakes again. We're gonna go right back up to the tires.
Is there 1 inch?
Huh? 1 inch. 1 in the front, 2 in the middle, 1 back here.
Okay.
All right, so my tires, first thing I notice again is that there are dual tires. The inner and outer walls of the tires are free of cuts, cracks, and bulges. My tread, free of any nails or screws to prevent flat tires. Tread life, no less than 230 seconds. Recaps are permitted. Air pressure for each tire, 85 to 100, or whatever the manufacturer recommends. I'm gonna check with an air gauge when that comes time. As soon as you're done there, my butting space between the two tires should be no more than 4 inches wide, free of any trash or debris. My wheel is not cracked, broken, or illegally welded, not bent or curved, free of any damage, held in with lug nuts. Lug nuts are a full set, no rust. Rust means they're loose, need to be tightened. Hub seal is underneath the cap. Should be mounted to the axle, full set of mounting bolts, tight and secure, not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Should not be leaking any oil or grease. Unfortunately, I see evidence of a leak, so I will have a mechanic check it. The valve stem should not be touching or rubbing the rim of the wheel. It's missing its cap, but we're going to be listening for air leaks. To the back. Yeah, that's it. All right, so when you get to the back here, the first thing you do is the trailer door. My trailer door has its full set of laminates, not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Tight and secure with all the rivets. All right, this trailer door, it should open and close properly, ma'am or sir, but it's not. It's bolted shut, so it will not open. But with it closed like here it is now, I want to make sure that the door latch right here and the door handle and the door latch are not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Door latch should lock and unlock properly. That my strap right here is stowed away perfectly, not flapping around in the wind. My door frame is not cracked, broken, or illegally welded, not bent or curved. All right, all my lights back here are red in color. All the lenses, they should be clean, not cracked, broken, or missing their lens. We'll make sure all the bulbs are working properly, not burnt. Unfortunately, I am missing an ID, my center ID light right up there. My license plate right here is up to date, fully visible, not and well lit with a clear light at all times. The mounting bolts are tight and secure, not missing. My mud flaps, they're not too long, too short for any kind of damage. Too long, drags on the floor, gets damaged. Too short, doesn't work its purpose. My DOT bar, it's not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Around the DOT bar should be DOT tape. That tape should not be ripped, torn, or missing. But it looks like this top one, even this side one needs to be replaced. So at least all of it needs to be replaced. In the middle of my DOT bar here is my pinto hook. The pinto hook is in its proper place, mounted to the frame, full set of mounting bolts, tight and secure. Not cracked, broken, or illegally welded, well maintained and lubricated. All right. At this point, you're going to look around the side of the trailer just like I'm doing right now. If there is a side trailer door, you must inspect it. If there is a side trailer door, you must inspect it. And it's just like doing any other door, okay? If you don't inspect it, they're going to take all the doors away from you. It just failed. So make sure you do it. There is no door, so at this point, I'm doing the same inspection I did on the driver's side. I'm going to do on the passenger side. Would you like me to continue? I asked them. They'll say no every time. This concludes or ends my pre-trip inspection. Ma'am or sir, I have not done the inside yet, so can we please do so? So if that's the case, you have to tell them. Because if you don't, they're going to say, okay, are you done? And then you're going to say yes to something stupid because you're not done. You just failed. Okay? Any questions? No? All right. Don't ask me anything.